Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the latest edition of the Radcast. We are into our February 2021 episodes here on the Radcast. It's been a great year. We've had some knockout guests all around the marketing technology. Hey, what else? What else can I say? It's been a wonderful month so far, and I'm just really excited to be joined today by Arjun Rai, the founder and CEO of HelloWoofy.com. What's up, Arjun?
Hey man, thanks so much for inviting me, and Riley, thanks so much for putting this together. It's such an honor to be able to talk to other agency folks in the business. So thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. I know Riley found you and learned about you on Clubhouse, which is a burgeoning application and platform and community that is really cool. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, man, I'd love to just start out. We always start out with a little bit, give our guests a platform to kind of just, talk about your background and your business a little bit, and then we'll kind of dive into some specific topics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, been in the marketing space for a very long time. I, was working on an ad network in high school, came to New York, quote unquote, to make it, and launched an agency just to pay the bills. By way of, running the agency, figured out that project management really doesn't do well for creative individuals, at least the solutions out there, right? And so we found that a lot of clunky software was out there, and creative individuals, when they wanted to work on something, they couldn't use their hands the way they would on a whiteboard or with a piece of paper, a Post-it note. And so we built basically the ability for you to drag and drop people, projects, files. We ended up being too early. We raised capital from probably not the best investors in order to kind of get it to market. So we figured out how not to build an MVP, how not to raise capital. And by the end of college, we had raised a few $100,000 towards the project. But again, we were way too early. We were betting that touchscreens would become bigger and cheaper, which they did. The Surface Pro came out, the iPad Pro came out years after that. But then figured out that social media marketing and marketing in general for small businesses wasn't at the level it should have been for underdogs, and we like to call it small business underdogs. So I ended up launching the company that we're working on now, which is Hello Woofy, and it's been interesting. It's definitely been a lot of ups and downs. The last 2 years, we had $10,000 left in the bank, and we had to make a decision: are we going to shut the company down, or are we going to go all in and make it work? And with my insane, personality, I said I'm going to go all in. So I put in $170K in credit cards and savings, rebuilt the company from the ground up. And just as we were about to launch, the show that we were kind of auditioning for has told us, hey, try next time. We're going to have to move on with other contestants. Unfortunately, my mom passed away a couple of days after that. The show called me back and said, hey, we actually have a couple extra slots. Do you want to come in, fly out of California, and film the show? And just one miracle after the other, happened. We launched in December 2019. We grew 21,000% last year in 2020. We did over 200,000 in revenue, and we'll probably do $500,000 this year in revenue. But the point of the matter is, just as we were about to die, we figured out that we need to keep going. You need to keep going, and miracles do happen.
Hey, I love that. I will say, a lot to kind of dive into there, but I will say this. I do say this a lot, that, you learn more from fail. It's painful. And some people say this because they've never done it. It's easy to be, a motivational influencer when you hadn't gone through anything. But when you've gone through it, and I've been on both sides of that, at the grounds. It's amazing what you learn failing sometimes. Like you said, you learn not how to raise money and not how to build an MVP. And it's probably helped, I'm sure, with what you've done with Hello Woofy.
Oh, 1,000%. We learned to use Fiverr. I mean, just a couple of days ago on Clubhouse, someone was offering me to build a funnel, a webinar funnel for $18,000, and that seemed like a great deal. But we built it for $500, and we're about to launch that. We built a sales funnel for $300, including labor, including the theme from WordPress and everything, and whatnot. We did 152,000 in revenue off of it. And so the point of the matter is that once you're pushed up against the wall, you really figure things out. Either you figure things out or you just crumble. But we opt to, figure things out and help other small businesses figure things out as well, especially the small ones.
Yeah, and that's a big topic. We're a digital agency, and we work with small to medium, getting more into medium-sized brands, just from a scale perspective for us and what works for us. But having worked with being a small business, having owned small businesses, and working with them, it's a really underserved category because they typically do not have the budgets, the sophistication, or the ability to kind of leverage what has become a democratized internet, but they don't have all of the assets or quite all of it put together. So I love anything that's getting and working towards that, which really seems like what Hello Woofy's doing.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it any more elegantly. It comes down to offering data-driven solutions for the price of a cup of coffee. Because to your point, small businesses are, let's just face it, they're unsophisticated marketers. They think they know what they can say, but just the whole idea of winging it when it comes to the perfect copy, the perfect emojis, the perfect hashtags, the images, doesn't cut it when you're competing with the biggest unlimited marketing budgets in the world. It just doesn't cut it. And in 2021, winging it is not a strategy for any business, for any startup, for any freelancer, right? Winging it is not a strategy at all. And so we were like, okay, as soon as you start typing, it'll work, start completing the sentences for you. It'll find the hashtags for you, find the emojis for you. The idea, and this goes back to the idea of a dog, I'm pointing to my dog right now, which is the mascot. The idea is, not only are you an underdog, but just like your dog, man's best friend, he's always there teaching you when, how, and what to post. And so we started with social because that was the lowest hanging fruit. Then we went into blog scheduling. We were like, why aren't small businesses blogging, especially during the pandemic, when they know that digital marketing is super important? And so you can auto-complete a blog post. You can optimize the beep out of it. I censored it for you. And then we were like, okay, we got to help small businesses with in-mails and emails and notes. So we actually built a Chrome extension that does everything I just told you about in any text field on the internet. So if I ask you, what is the total addressable market of a text box or an input field, you're going to be like, what the heck? Because it's infinite, right? We can work anywhere. And then we were like, okay, small businesses are really not seeing their customers come through the door the way they used to. Where are they going? They're stuck at home. They're quarantined. But guess who's winning? The biggest companies in the world, especially in the media business, are winning. The Netflix, the Hulus, the CNBCs, the CNNs are winning, which is great because they're producing a lot more content, but they're distributing it through smart speakers. We realized that these speakers, the one I'm holding, the Echo Dot or the Fire TV or the Echo Show in my other arm, these devices, the industry grew 80% during the pandemic. And I was like, who are small businesses scheduling content? Of course not. Until now, we've been working with Amazon to build the world's first smart speaker scheduler. So literally, you can go to our platform, schedule a video, and so long as your followers and your customers are following you on the smart speaker app that we'll develop for you for free, then they're able to see the video, audio, or text-to-audio content within seconds of you scheduling it. And now you have a whole new infrastructure to be able to reach your customers as they're quarantined at home. And we're like, why is no one else doing this? Again, this is for $5 a month.
Great value, and I think a lot of people aren't doing it because they don't think there's enough money there. I think that's generally what drives behavior. But let's talk. I want to break it down for our listeners because again, varying levels of understanding and engagement, like around these platforms, depending on who's listening. Talk to me about Hello Woofy specifically, because even I was digging around the website, I was looking at it and looking at the platform, which seems amazing. Talk to me about, I'm a small business and I'm signing up for Hello Woofy, what that process is and exactly what the application does.
Yeah, absolutely. So the process is typically small businesses will go to hellowoofy.com. They'll schedule a demo, or in some cases they'll buy the product and then schedule a demo. Because one of the things that I love doing is funnels. There's a funnel all the way through to signing up to buying the product. Once you buy the product, you redeem the code and the offering. There's funnels inside to schedule demos as well. In case you haven't done that, sign up for the newsletter. So we believe in funnels, and I really, really wish if other small businesses could do the same when they're onboarding customers, whether in real life or online, you really need to keep having pop-ups and reminding people that there is more than what they've already paid for, and it's in their interest. It's to their advantage to be able to do that. So that's kind of the approach we've taken. As far as the product is concerned, as soon as you start putting in content into a library, the idea is that it starts figuring out, how similar is the content, so you don't get in trouble with other platforms. One of the issues that small businesses face is that they keep posting the same thing over and over again, and that's not okay according to Twitter. Twitter very explicitly says if you post the same thing over and over again, it is not okay by terms and conditions. So what did we do? We actually built a compliance engine that prevents you from going above 95% in similarity. Now, you may not realize that you might be at 96% or 95.5%. We will tell you that, hey, this hashtag, this word, too similar, this phrase, too similar. Why don't we help you double click on it and swap it out for something else? For a coffee shop owner, they don't have a degree in marketing, but if we can help them, be competitive and not get into trouble, that's a huge value add for the business owner themselves. And there are other capabilities inside the platform as well, including being colorblind supportive. Everything is color driven. So purple means, campaigns, blue means single posts, green means you're in a draft mode. The idea is to build a platform for creatives. We don't want to build, quote unquote, the Bloomberg terminal of the world that's super clunky and super, over informative. We want to build something that's super beautiful yet super data driven.
I love it. So essentially, we're helping small businesses keep their content relevant, fresh, and compliant. Is that
exactly, and do it over and over again, and never miss a beat. And that's not just for social, like I was mentioning. We built a product called Journal that does it for blogging. We then built a smart speaker scheduler that does it for smart speakers. And our whole mission is to build the biggest company to help the smallest every step of the way.
I love it. So let's talk about, and it's on the screen if you're watching the video, depending on you are, and I'll do a plug now. If you are listening to our audio version, don't miss our full video versions where you'll see dynamic content throughout the episode, but it is sitting behind Arjun, so I want to bring up emoji data. Let's talk about that. Tell me about what that is and what it's doing and how that API and all those integrations are working.
I love it. So let me go ahead and share my screen now. So one of the things that you'll notice, and Ryan, you can see my screen just to confirm?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so emoji data is the underpinnings of Hello Woofy. It's an API that we hope to have other enterprises and other businesses use natively within their platform. But the thing that you'll see as far as the emojis are concerned is, let's go ahead and type in a post. Let's say we want to type in, how are you? And then it'll automatically complete the sentence for me, and then I can say, I love you, which of course we love you, and my coffee, right? Notice what's happening below. It's starting to figure out, based on what I typed in so far, which emojis may do the best based on the data, and give me other recommendations on top of that. Now, you might be laughing at me and be like, Arjun, what the heck are you talking about? Emojis? No way. Well, take a look at Adobe. I'm sure you and I respect Adobe, a live multi-billion-dollar company. Emojis, according to their research, not mine, and we validated this, by the way, drive significant uplift in engagement. In fact, they also drive significant uplift in purchase intent. People are willing to buy more. But the issue, as you can relate to, is that there are 3,000 emojis. How the heck do you figure out which ones are the most most influential, most valid to use? So what did we do? We literally mapped the entire English language word by word to figure out exactly which words, which emojis, which other emojis, based on the emojis you've used already, which other hashtags tend to be used with one another based on 200 million data points. Where do we go from there? We actually built the ability to say, okay, you as a small business owner deserve, and I'm being very clear about this, deserve to know what is being used right this second, what is trending, what is popular, what isn't popular. And then accordingly, you can then say, oh, I want to use this emoji, automatically add it in. I want to use this emoji, automatically add it in. The point is, we're giving you the ability to understand what's being used in real time. And then, of course, we're all cavemen. We like our images, right? Automatically find royalty-free images. Not go to Google Images, because you may or may not be able to use those images. These are royalty-free images you can use, automatically throw into your posts. And then based on that, we will also give you emoji recommendations based on the image and hashtags, as you can see here. So this is a very simplified recommendation engine that I'm showing you right now as a demo. But the point is, for $4.08, for $5, depending on the pricing your tier you come in at, you can have an entire marketing department in your pocket for a small business owner that can't afford an agency, that can't afford a professional to do this for them.
I love that. the power of emojis. Like, who knew we were going to be at this point? Like, but it is crazy, having done some of my own like postings in our companies and stuff like that, the engagement levels that the right emojis will drive. I never would have believed it. Not because I don't like emojis, but how that would have played into the algorithms that are out there.
Well, here's something I've learned, and I think you can relate to this as an entrepreneur, is that history repeats itself. Different players, different names, different geographies, but history always repeats itself. And so if you look at civilization and how it's developed, whether it's East Asia, whether it's Mesopotamia, whether it's the Mayans, it does not matter. We've always communicated in the most visual way possible. Pictograms, hieroglyphics, you name it. Every civilization that I've come across has always communicated in a visual way. Even cavemen, going back tens of thousands of years. And so it's not a surprise that emojis in the 90s started with about 90 emojis out of Japan. And then we've added more and more because we need to communicate more and more and quicker, actually. And so now you're seeing emoji. I mean, Unicode is the one that really, is like the FDA of text-based communication. They constantly are coming up with new emojis, trying to be, mindful of, races and colors and of different people, different kinds of emojis. The only issue is that, compatibility is becoming an issue across devices. Apple has its own emoji sometimes. Android has its own emoji. So we'll get there to a universal language. But the crux of the matter is that people want to converse visually, and that's why Pinterest is doing really well. I mean, you've seen the news around Pinterest.
Yep.
The image-based platform is doing really well because the fact is people are visual. Instagram did really well because it was visual as well, and then video was introduced. And guess what? My theory is, the more we get frames per second, the more frames per second, it's easier to, distribute content by frames per second, like TikTok being an example, or YouTube being an example of video formats. The more engagement you'll get and the more competitive it will become to market. And I'm really bullish on that.
Yeah, and it's funny. As you were speaking, you went there, but I was just thinking the evolution from Facebook to Instagram. Obviously Facebook agreed with it when they bought them for what now seems like a valued price of $3 billion, I think it was. But it was the same thing, because everything was super text based on Facebook. Everything was getting wordy and lengthy, and then the simplicity of the image based on Instagram, took off, and then exactly what you're seeing with TikTok on the video side. Video is becoming, video is king, I think, as we say. And then you've got the ubiquitous nature of 5G networks coming that makes all of this happen. I have this discussion with people, is like, they think, well, why wasn't video more popular 10 years ago? It's because 3G networks weren't fast enough to keep up with this level of content that we're sharing. So you've got all of these things convergence.
Well, the other theory I have is that the whole idea of waves per second. Oh, hey, we made revenue. We have lights blinking in our office every time someone buys something. That's the green lights on the back.
Hey, I love it.
My other, you guys should do it. Every time you get a new client, lights everywhere.
Maybe we'll get a bell. We'll ring.
Easy. Totally. So my other theory is that waves per second, right? It's all about getting more data in a unit of time and then being able to allow everyone to access that capability. So we talked about frames per second, getting, even televisions, you could have seen the evolution of, where things were going from televisions from, frames per second there. But I think waves per second, if you really looked at iMessenger, if you take a look at other, WhatsApp, solutions, we started communicating with audio messages a year or 2 years ago. Clubhouse has only been around for a year, less than a year, but that is on it's literally messaging, audio messaging on steroids. If you take a look at the kind of the evolution of audio, if you take a look at the evolution of image-based communication and then video-based communication, I think you can start seeing hindsight's 2020 where the evolution is coming from. And I'm very bullish on smart speakers right now because it's a $300-400 million industry with smart speaker marketing. I mean, I encourage your agency to look into it as well. But eventually, that living room behind me is going to be worth hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, being able to allow anyone to communicate with their customers in that living room. I'm pointing there because I have a Fire TV running right now. But just democratizing that, it's going to be the next big shift.
Yep. Well, I think you're getting more and more of the speakers into the house, and then it's just about more and more ways that they get used, right? And most of I joke, talking with friends that are meeting new people and like they know I own a digital agency or something, and they're like, I know those speakers are listening to me because I'll talk out loud and I'll see it in my feed. And I'm like, I don't know if it doesn't work exactly like that yet, but we're not far.
Well, there is something interesting. I mean, I saw high frequency advertising happening, which only the big companies, the blue chips are
Yeah.
using, which is basically when you see an advert on TV, you can then hit your remote and say, continue this conversation or information on another speaker in the living room. I've
Yep.
seen that happen.
Yep.
But again, you and I, small, or at least me as a small business owner, we wouldn't have that capability, and we're going to be working on some interesting things that will allow you to do that as well.
Yeah, I love it because it is the here and the now. I've been a little not surprised because again, I see it as the evolution of podcasting and communication with Clubhouse. But it is audio based, which is the out of the norm compared to all the other platforms that have been growing. But it's more just the evolution of communication, and I think you've hit this we hit this perfect patch with COVID and events and getting together, go away, and having this kind of platform where you can communicate in that period. It's going to be interesting. I'm in the middle. I don't think it's like going to die or like it's hitting this peak, or I'm not making any prognostications like that. I do wonder if we get out of a COVID world a year from now, are people going to spend 6 hours on Clubhouse like they are? That's my only question about the application long term. And as it gets monetized, I think it could get a little interesting.
Yeah, I will be honest. I started seeing quality kind of dip a little bit as a lot of people have been brought onto the platform. Like I was just checking my feed for notifications. It looks like anyone and everyone out of my Facebook group friends are on there now.
Yeah.
And nothing against them. It's just kind of the way of most platforms go. The only thing to keep in mind from a Clubhouse perspective is that if they can continue having those authentic conversations at scale, because you can't really run a business at scale and be worth $1 billion with only 1 million people. Maybe you can, but they have to open the doors up to actually be competitive. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, with over 1 billion people on his platform, was on Clubhouse, and he nearly crashed the entire app just a couple of days ago.
Yep.
And so that's something to be something to keep in mind. But I do believe everything I'm very spiritual, so I do believe everything happens for a good reason, whether it's negative in the moment or not, whether it's massively positive or not. The net effect is always positive. And so COVID, not to say that the people who passed away unfortunately due to COVID is a good thing. I think from a civilization, being able to progress, being able to move forward, getting audio and getting people who were feeling lonely, had mental health issues at home because they were quarantined. I've heard this so many times that people have said Clubhouse is my vent. It's my ability to actually converse and not feel lonely, not feel unwanted, because you can literally turn it on and join any room in a split second and have a conversation that can honestly make that person feel 1,000 times better. So again, there's a net positive. I think we're also getting used to saying letting people have dogs barking in the background, having children run up to them on a Zoom call, the doorbell ringing. I think we've become a little bit more sensitive and open from a corporate culture perspective the more COVID happened, and I think that's a net positive as well. But that's not to say that the people who passed away, they should not have passed away. We could have made better decisions as a society. But again, there is a net positive, and I hope people look at that.
Yep. Are you do you set up any groups, or how active are you as it is on Clubhouse? Do you set up any rooms specifically, or are there some that you're more active in than others?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm now actually, it's funny you asked me that question. I have 6 Calendly links, one for co-moderating, one for investors. We've soft circle hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital from Clubhouse. We have one for customers, support. So I've literally automated the whole funnel for setting up Clubhouse events and also meeting people off of it. So I will say we're doing about 3 to 4 Clubhouse events a week now. All are under the theme of being underdog. So like tomorrow we have podcasting 101 for underdogs. We have another one after that for raising capital for underdogs. Last week we had social media marketing or social media branding for underdogs. So the theme is to support small businesses. And I'm trying to do 3 to 4 a week, and they're typically in the afternoons and the evenings, so we can get the West Coast in at the same time, or on the weekend on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
So you should come on. You should come on as a co-moderator.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll get maybe Riley to help coordinate with that and come on
Totally.
and talk about it. Is where do you where do you see? I mean, any we're still in the early throes, so of 21 most certainly. Even though it's gone by fast. I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, holy cow, we're almost halfway through February, and it's like when you have kids and stuff, you feel like Christmas season's like forever, and then here we are almost in March. But any trends, anything you're seeing beyond what you guys are bringing to life on Hello Woofy in the small business space for this year in 2021?
I love that. Let's just face it, like from a relationship perspective, from a just development of, I guess, society in general, everything that would have happened in 5 years happened in 5 months.
Yep.
And I can speak for that because I unfortunately I had to end a relationship as well because it just wasn't working out. And I realized that once you hang out with a person for 24 hours versus 2 or 3 hours a day, you start seeing trends in your own relationship. And speaking of trends in the business world, you see the same thing. So curbside delivery, the most common thing ever. It used to be Costco did it. It used to be Walmart did it. Every single restaurant, every single store is now doing curbside delivery. Being able to see people on Zoom or being able to use video conferencing to actually get sales done. You can literally go to people's websites now, small business websites, and say, I want to schedule a call and I want to see a demo immediately. And you don't have to go into the store anymore. You don't have to be in the presence of a fashion designer to get recommendations for clothing. People are really, it's so interesting. People are becoming really adaptable essentially to the circumstances, and I like how video is becoming more common. Delivery is a lot more common now. People, the last mile delivery is a trend. It's huge now. And then, like I was talking about, smart speakers. I mean, we're seeing a lot of content distribution channels really double downing on that. Even from the infrastructure standpoint. I mean, I was talking to Spectrum here in New York, and they were like, we've never seen so much data go through our infrastructure in the entire history of Spectrum itself, which is interesting because not only more people on the internet and connecting, but they're working from home. They're pushing residential areas to have almost enterprise grade technology to actually allow them to connect with one another. So I'm going to be very bullish on internet connectivity, FiOS and those kinds of things. I think the infrastructure, as a society, the infrastructure has moved forward a lot faster. Unfortunately, the bridges aren't going to get built faster because people aren't traveling now as much. But I think from a tech perspective, we are moving forward.
Cool. So if I want to trend as we kind of close out last 5 or so minutes here is, so a small business is on board, and we talked about, like, I want to just get back to that, the Hello Woofy stuff, and specifically like a business, like how mapped out of a strategy do they need to have if they're coming on board with Hello Woofy, or is it pretty much like plug and play, like with how they come into the platform?
It's a great question. We wanted to make it so simple that even your kid could use this if they were an influencer, right? We know so many kids around the world who are YouTube stars and whatnot. If you take a look at our interface, I mean, it is beautifully designed. It's designed to be super visual. I'm just going to put it up on the screen real quick.
Yeah.
And the idea is to be very minimalistic, versus, some of our competitors. And again, we have a lot of respect for our competitors. They look like this on the low end. They look like this on the high end, right? With our platform, we want to make sure that there's a ton of white space. Everything is color driven. Purple means long-term strategies. Blue means short-term strategies, just like we mentioned earlier. And so we wanted to make sure that you were not only using something that was super simple, but data driven. And honestly, as soon as a small business jumps on board and starts using it, there's not a lot of learning curve. They literally just have to start typing. It'll do the work for you. And the more you do that, the more you notice how easy it should have been to do social media marketing. And then, of course, you can do other parts of blogging and scheduling other kinds of content as well. But the other thing I wanted to mention before we end the show is we have that whole Robin Hood effect, essentially, which is we want to build the biggest company helping the smallest. But how do we do that, right? And this is great for other startups and other small businesses who are listening in, is you want to involve your customers from the very beginning. Is not only show the product, but then say, hey, we are raising capital on equity crowdfunding. You, as a small business owner, can invest in the company, own a piece of a company that grew 21,000%. And as we grow, your investment will grow as well. So if you put in $100 for the agency tier for the year, you put in another $100 towards the company and get shares for it, and you become an affiliate and you introduce 20, 30 people in your network, which isn't that hard. You get 10%, whatever percentage we agree on, you could actually make all of it back. And you have an upside to the business that we're building for you. And so that's super, super compelling for a small business owner, especially someone who's been furloughed last year or just became a podcaster, just became a coach. And I encourage each and every one of you who's listening in to build a community. We built ours in Facebook, a Facebook group called Content Masters. But every single day, people are telling us what's working. Every single day, they're literally telling us what's not working. Did we make a mistake? They're happy to tell us that in the Facebook group, and I'm happy to respond in video format, which is actually key. Responding to your customers in video format is super important. And I just encourage everyone to make sure that you're not just building a business for yourself. You really have to focus on the community and get your customers to get involved as well.
I love that. And practice what you preach. I talked about with a lot of our clients, having a feedback loop, is so crucial, and having that, those open pathways, because a lot of small businesses get really narrow-minded on the path forward with the business, and they're looking for the solutions when sometimes they just need to ask questions, and your customers will tell you. So.
And guess what? It's all in the results, right? None of what I'm saying would matter if we don't have results to show. So to date, between the 3 campaigns, we've raised just under $700,000. A lot of it came from our customers. A lot of it came from complete strangers who became customers, or just other people who found us through equity crowdfunding. So it just shows the power of a customer. $100 at a time. One customer put in $10,000.
Yeah,
he really believed in us.
Exactly.
So I just want to say community is super important. Community is so important and so underrated at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have a Reddit moment or not. Are we gonna change the valuation of any one stock? Robinhood took a little beating for that from some of the Reddit users, but fascinating nonetheless. But Arjun, where can everyone, let's give out some contacts and different things, ways that people can keep up with you, the company, and everything you got going on.
I thank you so much for asking that question. Anyone can go to hellowoofy.com, schedule a demo, reach out to me. My email is at the very bottom in the footer. But here's the most important thing. Join our Facebook group and literally every single day tell me what you want us to build. It's fine. Tell us every single day what you want us to build, what is working for you on Hello Woofy, what isn't working for you on Hello Woofy. We can take the brunt, because we want to build a platform that's designed by small businesses. As you can see, I'm a small business owner, been doing this for a couple of years now, but we want to build it with you, for you. So for the price of a cup of coffee, if you want to take it for a spin, I'd definitely welcome you, but hellowoofy.com is the place to be.
Sweet. So everyone go find hellowoofy.com, get your internet, social media, everything up to speed. And the biggest thing for me is get your emoji game going right with emoji data. That's might be my most biggest takeaway. I'm actually going to go sign up for the platform, Arjun, and get us using it. And
virtual hugs. Here's a virtual hug for you.
Yeah. So I want to run it through at some paces and see how it could help some of our clients. So really appreciate you coming on today, and appreciate your time. And everyone knows where to keep up with us at theradcast.com and at the.rad.cast on Instagram. You can follow me at Ryan Alford everywhere on every platform. I do own that name. I started 10 years ago, and luckily there's not enough Ryan Alfords in the world. So anyway, everyone, we'll see you next time on the Radcast.